Many people regard human life as a precious gift, one that should be cherished and seen to its full potential. While people remain resilient, there's always the chance for a life to end. That's why most take hold of the opportunity of life and try to use it to the best of their abilities. Though, there are some that don't take into consideration the gift they have been given. Some people try to dance with death and end up throwing their lives away in the blink of an eye. The phrase, "play stupid games, win stupid prizes," is always present in the everyday actions of us as a species. One wrong move, and it can be all over for you. Today I wanted to discuss 4 individuals who decided to make one final mistake that cost them everything. For one reason or another, these people decided to take what seemed to be a calculated risk in their head, but resulted in their unfortunate end. Franz Reichelt. Franz Reichelt was an Austrian-Hungarian man born in 1878. Franz grew up in the new age of aviation, a fascination that took the world by storm, and Franz along with it. It was a time when daring inventors would stretch the boundaries of what's possible and revolutionize how we thought about travel. This new age sparked a fire in Franz, and he realized that he wanted to create his own aeronautical device that would take the world by storm. There was only one problem for Franz. He had no engineering or mechanical background whatsoever. He had decided to become a tailor in his life. Racking his brain for ideas, he decided to create his own rendition of the parachute. The parachute was invented about 100 years prior by Louis Sebastian Lenormand in 1783. Franz's idea was to implement a parachute design stitched onto normal clothing, sort of like a bat suit, I'm guessing. Franz designed his first prototype and decided to test it out by strapping a dummy to it and throwing it out of a 5th-story window. Franz concluded that the experiment had fruitful results and decided it was ready for human testing. When he brought his device to the Aero Club de France, they rejected it on the account of it being far too heavy to be safe. This did not deter Franz from his device, however, and he decided that his invention just needed to be proven more. Franz asked for permission to test his device out on the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and remarkably on February 4th, 1912, the French government gave him permission. On the day of the test, Franz decided that instead of launching a dummy off of the tower, he would use the suit himself and show the world personally his great invention. Franz got onto the ledge, and after hanging there for a minute, he stepped off and never got back up. He fell 187 feet to his death. Obviously, I can't show the footage of that here, but I will link it down below if you're curious. Cody Caldwell. Cody Caldwell was a 19-year-old man from California who met his demise in possibly one of the worst ways. On a November night in 2015, Cody Caldwell broke into a Fresno, California home with the intention to rob it. After a seemingly successful burglary, Cody crawled into the home's chimney to make an escape. It seems that Cody most likely found out very quickly what a big mistake he had just made. The chimney he tried to climb out of was too small for him to make it the whole way up, but big enough for him to make it nearly to the top. Cody was stuck inside of the home he just tried to rob. It's unclear how long Cody spent in the home, stuck between giving up and getting caught or trying to make it out. It all led up to a fateful evening where the homeowner lit a fire in the fireplace below the chimney. Suddenly, the homeowner heard desperate calls for help as the fire went, and Cody was left with no other choice. The homeowner hurried and called 911, but by the time they got to the house and broke open the chimney, it was discovered that Cody Caldwell had passed away. His cause of death was smoke inhalation. Bobby Leach. Bobby Leach was an English daredevil who lived during the late 1800s and early 1900s. Bobby Leach was a part of the Barnum and Bailey circus that traveled around to different parts of the United States. As an expert swimmer, he would perform high dive feats to entertain crowds with his abilities in the water. In 1908, Leach completed what was said to be the highest dive at that point in time, 208 feet from Steel Arch Bridge at Niagara Falls, also known as the Upper Steel Arch. In July of 1911, Leach would become the second person to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel, a feat that would shatter both of his kneecaps and fracture his jaw, as well as break several ribs. Most people would assume that Bobby would die as he lived, going out in a spectacular way. Unfortunately, it was quite the opposite. In 1926, Leach finished a lecturing tour in New Zealand and slipped on an orange peel while walking down the street. This should-be small accident left a nasty cut on Leach's leg and ended up getting infected with gangrene. In a world before antibiotics, Bobby's leg was set to be amputated, but unfortunately the near 70-year-old man died from his wounds before anything could be done. A man who had escaped death by a hair multiple times met his end with an orange peel. Thomas Midgley Jr. Thomas Midgley Jr. was a mechanical and chemical engineer who was one of the main inventors in the creation of leaded gasoline. He studied at Cornell University and during his work years moved up to the position of vice president of Eiffel Gasoline Corps. His other work achievements include being the president of the American Chemical Society and holding over 100 patents. In 1940, he contracted polio and unfortunately became paralyzed due to this disease. Thomas was completely bedridden, but not deterred from trying to move around his house. Using his mechanical engineering background, Thomas employed a multi-layer pulley system to get him out of bed and allow him to move unassisted. Unfortunately, his design was not foolproof, as in 1944, Thomas was discovered dead in his home, wrapped in his own machine. His cause of death was strangulation. It's unclear to this day if his death was self-inflicted or an accident. All of these individuals met their end in ways that may have been preventable if they had thought more carefully about their actions. They tussled with death, and death won.